Hey, welcome back. In order to have a strong community and to set our projects up for success, it's important to not only understand our users, but also understand what devices they use in their everyday lives. And in Centercode, we use user profiles and test platforms to accomplish that goal. So in this video, we're going to cover the form engine and the form elements that power these forms. Then we'll talk about the different user profiles and test platforms that are already pre-built into Centercode. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so our user profiles and test platforms are powered by something called the form engine. What the form engine allows us to do is build out detailed and intricate forms using individual elements that we call form elements. And we have a lot of different form elements within the platform that allow us to build out these different forms and really collect that information and those user sentiments in a lot of different ways. Not only are our user profiles and test platforms powered by the form engine, but so are our surveys. And once you've watched this video on profiles and platforms, you'll also have a great understanding of how to build out surveys. We'll talk about those in the next video. But first, let's go ahead and cover the different form elements that we have within the platform. The first one is going to be choices. Now, choices allow us to select responses from a predefined list of answers. We have a couple different options when it comes to choices. We can do a drop-down menu. We can have multiple choice checkboxes. We can do radio buttons, etc. And here's an example of one of those choices that we might have within a user profile, so a question about gender. Next up is going to be text entry. So we can collect text regarding open-ended questions. We can do short answers, but we can also do longer formatted paragraph texts. One great example here is a question that we have as one of our defaults inside the qualification survey. What would make you a good fit to beta test this type of product? And this is a question that we always recommend having inside your qualification surveys because it can really reveal excited, motivated, great quality testers who are applying to join a project. Next up is a rating scale. So selecting a rating from a predefined range of numbers. This is great for product ratings and NPS ratings. You can see that we have two examples right down here. So based on the product's current state, rate your overall experience, and then how likely are you to recommend this product to a family or a friend. And then we can also generate some cool NPS kind of charts and graphs using the data from this form element. So next up is the matrix. This allows us to evaluate row items using the same set of column choices. Like our example down here at the bottom, it's great for asking users how much they agree or disagree with the set of choices that we present them with. Stacked ranking is also great for this, capturing those user sentiments. Ranks a custom list of provided inputs, and those inputs are always presented in a randomized order. So we're never biasing those choices. In our example here, we're ranking sodas from favorite to least favorite, so the user would just drag over their choices in order of which they prefer. Then you can also add a file upload element to your forms. So single or multiple files. We support a lot of different file types within Centercode, and we've got a 5 gig limit right there. So lots of great options and lots that you can do with the file option. Time and date, if you want to capture exactly when someone completed a user profile or a test platform. And we can define those year ranges. So there's a lot here that you can do with the date and time as well. And labels are great for just breaking up a form. So if you want to organize things by general information and then maybe demographics or location, labels are great for segmenting your user profiles and your test platforms and creating those categories or those segments that users can very easily digest. You can also attach an image if you'd like to. So very dynamic and very useful here. Now that we understand the form engine and form elements better, let's go ahead and define our user profiles and our test platforms. The user profiles is all about the data that pertains to our users. So attitudes, location, details, etc. Things like name, age, gender, location, family, career, etc. Now, test platforms are data that relates directly to a product, device, or service of a user. So that's going to include their phone, tablets they may own, any PCs or laptops. But it also includes things like services. So do they use streaming services or home security services, devices that they may have laying around, and also, the house itself. Do they have smart home devices? What's the total square footage of the house, etc. And these two elements together really give us the most detailed and the most nuanced picture of our users to allow us to have educated choices about who we have in the community and who we're accepting into our projects. Now we have a better idea about this. Let's go ahead and check them out in the platform. All right, so to access test platforms and user profiles, we'll go to the community menu, go down to community management, and then they're right below surveys. And you can see we have those buttons there to create a brand new profile or platform if we'd like to. Let's go ahead and take a look at the user profiles that we have built inside Centercode right now. And again, this is all about the data that pertains directly to our user. So for example, if we take a look at the basic profile, you can see we've got questions about gender, operating systems they prefer, what their testing interests are, and then the option to also fill out the extended profile. Now we've got a couple different form elements in here. We've got labels to separate these different sections. We've got a couple different choice options. So we can do radial buttons. We can do checkboxes from multiple different choices. And you can see we've got some different symbols next to these elements. So for example, on gender, we have a little purple shield icon here. This means that any data associated with this element is personal data. So if anyone were to opt out of the community, they remove their profile, any data that's marked as personal data is going to be scrubbed from the platform. So that's a great way to stay data compliant. We also have those red asterisks there. That's to mark it as required. And if we want to edit our form elements, it's very easy to do. Just go to the action bar on the right. We can modify them, toggle on or off requirement, toggle personal data. We can add another element just above this. We can change where this appears in the form, and we can also remove this element. Now note that if you're removing an element from a form, all data associated with that element is also going by the wayside. It's going to leave the platform. It's going to be totally gone. So if you have an element that's been inside a form for a while, a lot of people have filled it out and you remove it, you're also saying goodbye to that data. Let's go ahead and check out our extended profile as well. This is a lot more built out, and this is optional, but we have questions about native language and social media, what kind of home the user owns or rents, type of home, etc. Education, work, experience. Now, if we want to add a form element, we just go up to the top and we click on Add a Form Element. And from here, we select our element type. You can see we have all of those types available to us. I'm going to go with choices. We'll just give it a test title. You can add an optional description if you'd like. And then depending on what kind of form element you've selected, you also have a couple different ways to display it. So for choices, we have things like drop-down list, those radial buttons, those checkboxes that we saw earlier, etc. I'm just going to select drop-down list, and I'll make this required. Now we can also make this conditional. So if we want to make this question only appear based on the answer to a previous question, we can do that. So for example, if I click on Make This Conditional, and we select something like, did you attend college or university? We can then select which responses are going to make this conditional appear. So I'll select yes, and I'll select currently attending. You have more than one option there. And then we add our choices. So I'm just going to add 1, 2, 3, and 4. Keep it pretty simple. And there you go. Our choices are now added to our form element. I can randomize the choice order if I want. So if I don't want to introduce any sort of bias into the form element, that's totally possible. And then we customize this. So we're going to decide where this appears in our form. Since this is a conditional and it's based on our college question, I'll set this to appear after did you attend college or university. And then finally, we have the option to include in summary, save it as a preset, mark it as personal data. So we have some of those options that we saw there in that action bar. I'll click submit. It takes us back to this page, so we can create another form if we want to. This is great for just continuously building out your form as you're working on the community side of things. But if I travel back to the form, and if I scroll all the way down to education, you can see that form element isn't appearing right now. But if I click on yes, there is our test element right there. And you can see we actually have another conditional there that asks about the level of the degree. So everything from working on degree to vocational degree, doctorate, etc. And there's all of our choices. Again, if I want to remove this, click on that. It's going to give us some validation here. And now that form element is no longer a part of our extended profile. Now that we understand user profiles a little bit better and how to start building them out, let's go ahead and take a look at our test platforms. So here we are at Test Platform Management, and you can see it's laid out very similarly to our user profiles, with the exception that this is all about the devices and the technologies that our users have and that they have in their everyday lives. So we have things like mobile phone, personal computer, home network. We even have an AI form that I just created not too long ago. So let's go ahead and click into that. And this is built out very similarly to, our forms again. So we have a friendly name for this. So this is great for mobile phones. If someone says, my Google Pixel or my iPhone, etc., makes it very easy to identify those platforms and say, okay, this is the phone they're using, this is the PC they're using, etc. We've got some questions here. So we've got those drop-down questions. We also have our conditionals. We have some text boxes here so they can type in other tools that they may be using. We have multiple choices. We also have our matrix right here as well. So lots that we can do with this. And you can actually fill out more than one test profile. So if you want to go ahead and have multiple mobile phones, that's totally possible. We all know someone who has every device that they can get their hands on, right? They're a real techie. So we do support the ability to have multiple phones, computers, etc. Now, if we want to go ahead and modify this form at a deeper level beyond just our form elements, we can go up here to modify settings. Here we can title it, we can give it a subtitle, and most importantly, we can define the access level for this test platform. We can also do this with user profiles. So members can submit this, but you can see that some of these are blocked out. They obviously can't see the results of this, and they can't manage other users' test platforms and user profiles, which is good. We don't want them going in there and accessing data that they shouldn't. But what we can do is set it as a notice. So if I click notice for external candidates and internal candidates here, this is going to go ahead and present it to users as they're logging in or as they're creating their account for the first time. So this is a really great way to make sure that they're filling out these user profiles and test platforms as they're entering your test program. And we're actually going to talk about all the different notices that are available to us and how we can use them with surveys and content in the next video. So I'll go ahead and see you there, and stay tuned.